Forgive me if we run into a glitch. This is my first time using our training room. It has successfully been used for a few other classes that we've had and some civic organizations, but this is my first stab at fully presenting a class and through it. So if we run into any glitches, bear with me, please. All right. So the first slide I just wanted to go over is talks about our vision and our mission. As a fire department, the Town of Norfolk Fire and Rescue Department strives to be an exemplary organization widely recognized as a department that uses best practices in delivering services to the town's citizens and guests. So that's our vision. That's what we use to kind of guide how we do just about everything as far as our decision making, you know, what we need to focus on and prioritizing. We put the community first. We're a customer service based organization. And we try to thrive on being just that, a customer service-based organization. We try to live off of the creed that the customer is always right. Usually when we're showing up to help you, it's a bad day. And we want to try to comfort you in that time and provide the care you need in order to get you to either definitive care, whether that be the hospital, or handle the emergency, whether it's pumping out your basement or putting out a fire, or you have a CO alarm, something wrong with your boiler, all of that. We'll be there and we'll help you and support you through that. Our mission is through prevention, preparedness, response, and mitigation. The Town of Norfolk Fire Department shall provide professional and innovative services and support to the citizens of the Town of Norfolk and the Massachusetts Department of Fire Services District 4. So again, that's our mission. Again, it's focused on providing service to you, the citizens. Massachusetts Department of Fire Services District 4 is primarily Norfolk County Fire Departments. It is a fire district that we are a part of. We have a Fire Chiefs Association that does a shared resource account, so we have access to things like a technical rescue team. We have legal aid. We also get as a clearinghouse for MEMA and things like that come through our Fire District 4. The other thing that happens with that is if there's a major incident either within our district or another district, all of our coordinated responses that go to other districts or for large incidents like you all remember the gas explosions in Danvers, that's coordinated through MEMA and through the district, the Massachusetts Fire Service districts. The state is broken up into, I think, 13 or 14 districts, and we're District 4. All right, this is our org chart. This is how our department is structured right now. So we have 4 groups of 4 members each, and we also have a small contingent of call firefighters as well. You'll also see on this list we have people that do multiple duties, if you will. So Captain Gatchell, for example, handles training and safety for us. He's also the captain kind of over the call firefighters because he puts together and develops the training program for our call firefighters as well as our in-service training for the fire service piece. Firefighter Luke Barney serves as our EMS director. So he does similar things to Captain Gatchell, but it's focused exclusively on EMS. So when we do EMS drills, EMS continuing education, coordination with our medical control doctor, all of that, Luke Barney is our liaison and handles that. Captain Mike Finland does a lot with our prevention and SAFE program. We kind of have a committee for this SAFE program that we're implementing that will have Captain Finland as well as Captain Hoarth as well. Kind of steering that with members Sam Brady, Eric Gaslari, and Alexa Bethany. That'll be a part of that. Obviously, community engagement is a big deal for us. We really want to be able to engage with you as much as possible, but hopefully not at emergencies. I would much rather see all your faces in a situation like this than at an emergency. So, you know, I like to see you like this. I like to shake hands and, you know, smile and talk with you like this, not in the case of an emergency. If you do have an emergency, I will happily be there. All of us will happily be there to serve and help you, but we'd much rather engage with you and talk with you like this. One position of note that is kind of near and dear to me, but also my personnel see it as well. We lost our admin assistant a couple years back when Miss Marie retired. It was a decision I had to make. Again, going back to our vision and mission, our primary mission and vision is to provide service for you. So I was left with the choice of losing a firefighter off the floor or that position being frozen. So my tough decision was that Jack and I had to swallow a little bit more work, but the product that you get out on the street is still whole and complete. So those are the kind of decisions that we make, and that's where that vision and mission statement become important for us to refer back to, because, you know, selfishly, it's been very easy for me to say, hey, give me my admin assistant, because I need it, right? I do, I mean, but it's more important to have boots on the ground and firefighter paramedics out there serving and helping you, because you are what's most important and you're the reason we exist. That's what we're here for.
So can I ask a question?
Yes.
So the fact that it's up there and visible, does that mean you want to backfill this?
Eventually, I would like to get it back. Yes, it's vacant and frozen right now, but it is a position that is still within my department. It's just not, there's no plans to fill it, or there isn't a plan right now to fill it. And if it came down to it, honestly, you know, I think there's some creative ways for us to look at that that would be mutually beneficial both for the town and for us as a fire department, by maybe making that a day captain position, so we have a little bit more depth, but we also have yet another set of boots on the ground that isn't exclusively an admin assistant, but can also help backfill in the case if we run short, or one of the ambulances is gone, or something like that. We have another qualified person in-house that can help with the response side of things.
Question.
Yes.
What are the numbers after the names?
So the numbers after the names are their unit numbers. So all of the captains and chief officers have a C, and they pretty much go in order by seniority or by rank within the department. So obviously the chief is C1, the deputy C2, Mike Fillon is C3. He was the most senior captain, followed by Doug Johnston, then Seth Hamilton, then Kate, then Billy. So those are just based off of when they got promoted. So one being the highest, but after that, C2 and C1 are always the chief and the deputy. The captains will then go in order by seniority or how long they've been serving. So that's why those numbers are there. These numbers are considered their unit numbers. It's a way for us to ID personnel. If you ever look at us when we're on scene, everybody's helmet front usually has their ID number on it. So it's a way for us to identify each other and designate. So we use, and my personnel come back on callbacks. So in order for us to know, instead of saying, you know, Erron Kinney's on, I'm coming back to the station, they just say 18's on the way or 22's on the way. And that just gives us situational awareness to know that we've got extra people coming, you know, to supplement the staff that's on scene, or to cover the station because, you know, the ambulance is going to be out for an extended period of time.
I just have a question. So it's pretty much a secretary job. Everything's on the computer now. So when you're here and the ambulance is out, you don't go out with the ambulance. So why can't one of you, I know it would be easier
Yes.
to have a secretary,
Yes.
and I don't know how many phone calls you get here, that it's just
Yes.
a lot. Is it to rent this space? Is that what the phone calls are, or?
So the phone calls are scheduling inspections, questions about EMS billing, questions about plan reviews, different correspondence. I mean, sometimes it's questions about bills. Right now, between the two of us, we try to handle that. We also recognize that it is very difficult, and it interrupts a lot of what we do during the day, because there are still the components of running a fire department that we have to do outside of, you know, the things that an administrative assistant would be doing in terms of scheduling. Like, for instance, I administer all the grants, which normally would be I would write them in many cases, but I wouldn't go through and have to do every detail of the administration. I have to do all of that now for every single grant we do. Jack has to do all of the fire prevention scheduling for inspections. When we had Marie, we didn't touch that. So we added work to our plate when we froze that position, knowingly. It was a conscious decision to say, hey, we're gonna have to do some extra. And, you know, honestly, routinely, Jack and I do, what would you say, hours a week, honestly? Between 50 and 60, we do significantly more than 40. In order to make sure we're filling those gaps. And even with that, we still have gaps. You know, and that's something I would, you know, I'm glad you brought up the question, because we have some gaps in terms of, or delays in, we have to prioritize what inspections we do now, because we don't have the ability for him to sit and schedule every single one that we get requested right then and there. It's too much work, too much volume. When we had Marie, we would come in, there would be a file with, hey, here are the inspections need to get done this week, and we could get it done that way, because she was focused on those administrative functions.
So you're here 9 to 5, Monday through Friday?
Yes.
We had a meeting. Is he here 9 to 5, Monday through Friday too?
Yes.
So
Yes,
you
he is.
neither of you are on the weekend?
Well, we are when there's a recall, so that's the other thing, we're never really off duty. So if there's a major fire on a Saturday, Sunday, Christmas Day, Thanksgiving, whatever, we have to go. And we go. So that's where, you know, and we'll actually get into a little bit of that later on in our, when I talk about the budget.
Is it possible you can share an ambulance and somebody else in town?
No. So the ambulance is not something that is a shareable resource. And we'll get into that.
Admin.
The admin.
Oh, the admin.
Share the admin.
You know, we've actually discussed maybe looking at doing that maybe, but, you know, the admins that already exist and that are working have a full plate already. We aren't the only department in town. You'll probably learn that through doing this. That is, in theory, in a perfect world, we're understaffed. Like we are. Like that's just the truth. There's more work to go around than what we are capable of doing, but we make sure to get the absolutely necessary stuff taken care of. So there are some administrative functions that, you know, suffer a little bit. Like sometimes you might not get a call back for 48 hours or whatever that may be, because along with what I do from 9 to 5, like I said, I'm also the chair of the Emergency Planning Committee for Norfolk County, which requires time and takes me away from here because I have meetings, but it's also something we absolutely have to be a part of and have by law, so I have to do it. I'm also a part of, obviously, the Norfolk County Fire Chiefs Association, and it's important for me to go to those meetings. So I get pulled away for meetings, and there are meetings sometimes I can't go to. Actually, routinely, I can't go to some of those meetings because I have to stay here to take care of town, and it sometimes puts me behind a little bit, catching up with, you know, little trends or things here and there because I'm pulled away, or I can't go to an OEMS meeting, or I can't go to a Norfolk County Chiefs meeting or FCAM meeting, which these are all professional organizations that help, you know, and support fire departments in delivering the best services. And there's a lot of times I can't go. It just is what it is. And I accept that and understand that, but that's part of the reason we would like to get that position back, so that there is somebody to answer the phone when we're going to a meeting, and there is someone to talk to you and answer questions when I can't. Like if I'm really deep in the middle of a plan review, you know, with blueprints and things like that, it's probably not the best time for me to answer the phone. And honestly, I prioritize. I won't answer the phone when I'm doing that. I'll let it ring and go to voicemail. And I would much rather have the service be available to you where you get an answer right away. But that's one area that suffers for us without that position.
Can I ask about processing payroll?
I have to do it.
That's still a manual task.
Yes. So we've automated some of it. It's not as tedious as it once was. We have a new software that has allowed us to streamline a lot of it, but there's still a lot of manual and then checks and balances that I have to do and Jack has to do before we submit it and turn it in.
Do you have much overtime here?
Yes, a lot.
What was the question? How much overtime?
Is there much overtime? Yes, there's a lot.
There's a question whether it's paid overtime or...
So-
That's what I meant,
Get
paid
there.
overtime.
Oh,
You're
yes,
talking about
yes.
payroll.
Yeah, we'll get into that when we get to the
We got
budget
lots of
part.
questions.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So this is our staff. This is all the leadership staff. This is the chief officers and all the captains. So you can kind of put names with faces. And I know your slide, some of the pictures I didn't get till late, so some of your packages don't have all the pictures in them, but I was able to fill those in. I got some of the pictures late. But that's our entire department. The only picture I don't have is Sam Nagard. We have a young man who is attending UNH right now. He's on a leave of absence. And when he gets back during his different breaks throughout the school year, he's able to help augment our staff as a firefighter EMT. He's also working while he's at UNH as an EMT on their ambulance service, so he's keeping his skills fresh and staying ready to go. So this is our entire staff. We do have some call members. So these bottom three, this is Ryan Conley. He works full-time at Bridgewater, but he lives in town. He has been a very valuable asset for us because he's a fully trained firefighter paramedic, and it seems like every time we have a major incident, he's there. He's there as an extra set of hands and to help us out. He's also been a great fill-in for us when we've had multiple ambulance calls at one time. He's transported and been a primary treatment paramedic for one of the town employees who had a cardiac event, so he's a valuable asset for us. Chris Watson is also, he's fairly new, he's still on probation, but Chris Watson is a call firefighter. He works for a software company, and Chris has also been valuable. He's filled in some shifts for us when we've had shortages, and when we have gaps, that's where our call department really comes in and really helps us a lot. The other thing that call department does, if you see these top four youngsters here that are 2 probationary and 2 that are fairly new, they all started in the call department during their senior years of high school. And I'm happy to say we have them here as full-time members. We were able to train them, and I like to call it Norfolkize them, so they know our culture, they know how we serve and what our expectations are, and they do a great job. All right, so getting into our core values as a department: excellence, leadership, integrity, and service. So we have a goal to try to be the best out there, and we don't accept any excuses for not being excellent. I like the mantra, there's no vacation from greatness, so we try to be good at everything we do. And I think, obviously I have a slightly biased opinion, but I do know from actual responses and calls, we perform at a very high level. You will not find a fire department around here that is going to just hands down be better than what we provide. There is none that will flat out outperform us, not one. And I'm very proud to say that. We have great working relationships with our mutual aid partners. We're able to train with them. We respond with them. And I personally feel like there's a lot of ways we lead the way. And when we show up to help people, good things happen. When we show up mutual aid, the fire goes out. We show up mutual aid on a technical rescue or an animal rescue, things happen, they get done. And that's not by coincidence or by accident. It's because of the many hours of dedication and training that the personnel here in this department put in, and their desire to be excellent, to be great, and to be leaders at what they do. Obviously, leadership, we want to be leaders in our field and leaders in what we do. The integrity one is a big one for me, and I think for us as an organization. We want to try to do the right thing all the time, even when nobody's looking. And that's what integrity is about. You know, I'm quick to step up and make it be known when I make a mistake. And, you know, if I do something that hurts the department or hurts the community, I'm gonna stand up and own it. It is what it is. Like, you know, I work hard to do the absolute best for this community and study and research and trying to do things to advance this department. And sometimes there are gonna be errors made in that. So, but at the same token, we have to be transparent and honest and be able to stand up and own when we make a mistake or when we do something that, you know, wasn't the best decision. And it can happen, right? It can happen, but we really work hard and strive not to have those type of incidents. Service, obviously, is the driver of everything we do. It's serving you, serving the public. You know, like I said, we're a customer service-based organization. That is what we're all about. All right. What our department does. So this is getting into a little bit of the fun stuff for me. I love serving and I love working as a firefighter and all of that encompasses. So who here has a vision of what they think a fire department is or should be? Go ahead, tell me. Me? Yeah.
Well, first of all, fire, putting out fires. Number two, I think we had an incident where we had a fall in our home. You guys came, the EMTs, and they took care of that person who fell. Hazardous materials, as you have up there. Also, permits for burning in the spring. And just overall support of the community.
Awesome. So, excellent. So, I like to explain to people when we say we do emergency services, literally anything you could call 911 for except for a police emergency, that's us. Everything. Your water heater is messing up or acting up and you don't know what to do. Call us, right? You have somebody sick, you're not sure what's going on, call us. There's water flowing in your basement and you don't know where it's coming from or what's happening, call us. When your house is on fire, obviously you call us. You have a heart attack or an injury, something like that, obviously you call us. We are a all hazards mitigating agency, which means we will do just about everything from rescuing a horse, a cow, a duck, a chicklet, whatever it might be. Now, we do have to prioritize sometimes, like we're not going to put the life of a duck over the life of a human if there's a fire, right? We're going to go get the human first. We will make every attempt to get the duck, but if we don't get the duck and we get you, we prioritize that, right? So we do save pets. It's a regular occurrence, actually. Now most people have pets. We go to house fires, we're scrambling around looking for pets. But that's important. You know, pets are just like part of people's families now. So you name it, and it needs rescue or service, we pretty much offer to do it.
So, if we need a service, if basement's flooded or something like that, you call the fire department number or 911?
You can call either, so it depends. Like, if you call 911, I'm not going to fault you for that because water coming in your basement creates a potential fire hazard or electric shock hazard. So that is kind of an emergency, especially if it's a significant amount of water. It's emergent. We do maintain a small cache of little electric pumps, and we have generators. So when we have those nor'easters go through or your pipes freeze and something like that happens, we're able to assist with that by pumping out basements, or at times we can even leave the pumps with you for that service to help you. Unfortunately, when we have that happen, a lot of times we're hitting multiple houses during that storm. So a lot of times we'll leave it with you and come back and get it after the fact. That's just something that's a little bit unique about us. You go to other departments in this area, they will not do that. They will not accept that. They don't feel like they can accept that liability, and they don't feel like they can, for whatever reason, provide that kind of service. But we do. It's important to us because, again, you are our customers, and it's customer service based. You need us, we're going to come.
So when someone falls, why isn't this the ambulance there? Why does the fire truck have to come too? Aren't you wasting the fire truck when you only need an ambulance? So
Yeah.
police and ambulance should be there, not the fire truck.
So, who in here knows the average number of people that respond in the state of Massachusetts to an EMS response? So like, just take the, let's take, say, Westwood, or Brockton, or Quincy, or Franklin, which is right next door. You know how many people respond in those places? 5. There's a 3-man engine and a 2-man ambulance on every single response. So when you see later, you'll understand why we send an engine with people and the ambulance, because a medical emergency requires more than just 2 people.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Can I give a personal example? Maybe this will help you understand. I have a husband that has a myriad of medical issues, and I have had to use the EMS services more times in Norfolk than I can count on 2 hands. I've forgotten how many. We both have Apple Watches with a fall feature and a GPS feature. He has grand mal seizures. He fell, hit his head. He also suffers from aphasia because of strokes. So when the little voice came over his watch, and I was elsewhere, so I didn't see what had happened, he couldn't respond. So they didn't know whether he needed police, fire, or rescue. And they sent all 3. Thank you God, they saved his life, and they've saved his life more than once. And I was just talking with one of the young fellows there that one time they said to me, he's coding. Does he have a, well, anyway.
I would ask the question, and it makes sense if it does, because it's kind of what rules the world. Do you send that also because of liability? You're protecting yourself from liability. Insurance rules the world, so liability, I completely understand that.
There is a liability piece in it as well, because when we have to handle a patient and move them downstairs, out of living rooms, around obstacles, things like that. So for somebody, let's use Miss Donna as an example. Somebody tiny like that, I could probably scoop her up and take her, but if you add steps, couches, the rest of the things that are normally in a house, plus the fact that we're hooking them up to a monitor, we're hooking them up to oxygen, all that stuff, 2 people are not carrying even her out.
But like you said, it's
It's
liability.
usually-
It's
it's
liability,
usually
that's what it is.
Well, it's not just liability, because when we run these calls, you're getting at least 3, sometimes 4 paramedics that are consulting and treating you. So, like for instance, if you fell and broke your leg, right, we're gonna have to, 1, set that bone, right? We're gonna have to get peripheral access, which means we're gonna start an IV to probably get some fluid stabilization so you don't go into shock, but also give you some pain medication,
Good.
right? So that's, the setting of the leg is probably gonna take 2 people to do it the right way without you being in excruciating, unnecessary, unbearable pain, right?
Right.
It's gonna take 1 person to get peripheral access. And then there's 1 person left who's kind of in command or running the scene, but also has to get med lists, medical history, all those things. So we're accomplishing all of those tasks. And that's why the magic number is 4 to 5, right? So that's why you always see the engine and an ambulance, because it's needed. The bodies are needed, the people are needed. The engine actually carries ALS equipment. So when the engine gets there before the ambulance, say the ambulance is coming from the hospital, it's delayed, they're going to go in and try to do what they can to stabilize until the ambulance gets there. So there are rare occasions, very rare, where we have to handle an emergency of an ambulatory patient with just 2 people, but that's very different than a non-ambulatory patient. We're not handling a non-ambulatory patient without 4 to 5 people. It just is not happening. Now, if you can get up and walk on your own and you're just, whatever, occasionally we can do that. But there are also the cases where someone who has acute respiratory distress, they're ambulatory for a second, and they might be doing this when we get to them, and then next thing you know, they're on the ground. Or we can't risk them walking to the ambulance. If you call us with chest pain, we're not going to make you get up off the couch and walk to the ambulance and stress your heart. right? And make the situation worse. So again, the people are necessary. It's a common kind of misconception. People are like, why does the fire truck come? Because they're needed. They're needed.
Is it on every call you do 5 too?
No, we don't have 5.
We don't have the available people, it's always
If we have, yes,
Okay.
so we try to stay at 4 minimum on shift, no matter what. There have been times, unfortunately, we had to drop to 3. We'll talk about that a little bit later too. But we try to stay at 4 no matter what, operationally, okay? Jack and I try to augment or supplement on any like high acuity type stuff. So it's a fire, or we got a land life flight, or you know, it's a code and nobody else is responding. We got to get up and go help because 4 people isn't enough for those. One of my firefighters back there has a comment. You had a comment? You raised your hand, right?
Oh, I was just gonna say, on the topic of the engine and ambulance going as well, dispatch isn't always ready. So we've been dispatched to calls before for issues that seem kind of minor in nature, and we've shown up and it's been somebody on the ground with no pulse, not breathing. And to start treatment for that patient with only 2 people is detrimental. There's studies that show, especially with cardiac arrest, that the minimum you should have on scene is six people because of the nature of the call and the amount of jobs that need to get done to try and resuscitate somebody in cardiac arrest. So having 4 on scene is crucial for us to maintain that readiness to act and treat our patients.
Yes.
Just have a quick example. We like to stay together as a unit, so if we separate, that's no good. We can't really work together as a team. But a lot of times we'll go on a medical run, and the next call will be a fire run, or it could be a fire. Not too long ago, we had a medical call in town, and at the same time the medical call was happening, guess what happened? A fire happened on stovetop of someone's house in town. So what happened was, the guys took care of the medical, and the engine was able to pull off, fully staffed with 2 guys, and go to the fire. So we always try to stay together as a team, that way we don't separate and, not become a team.
My son's a homicide detective in Baltimore, and they don't do this down there. It's just the ambulance. There's none of this, so that's why.
And I think that there's a difference in a big city where it is a fire-based EMS. I'm very familiar with the Baltimore fire system. The Baltimore fire is extremely progressive, but like beyond extremely busy. There is routinely, almost weekly, where they are out of ambulances because there's so many runs. And they actually take engine companies off the street to come backfill ambulances. So we aren't in that situation, and thank goodness we aren't. But I will say this, on a basic call in Baltimore, so what we would call a BLS or a low acuity call, meaning I know they have tiered dispatch. So when they dispatch, they have Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and Echo responses, okay? So an Alpha response means it's probably a non-emergent response, right? It means, hey, I stubbed my toe last night and it hurts. Okay. Chances are you're not gonna die from that, but, like, you call 911, so there's a lot of screening that goes into play. We don't have the luxury of having that. Even with the regional dispatch center, there's no way they could take on that plus the dispatching for all the towns. I wish they could, because we could then tier responses. But the one thing that's good about you, the citizens of this town, you all don't call us with those kind of calls.
And because you have to come no matter what. Like,
Yes.
So,
Yes.
right, like, oh, I dropped the glass in my kitchen and cut my foot, you have to come even if it's just a drop of blood.
If you call us, we have to go.
Right.
Right. So for us, for example, like, we don't get to tier our dispatch. So when they call us, we send. But the thing about this community, and this is something that is fairly unique, it was like this in one of the communities I worked in Tennessee as well. There are districts and areas that the people are very resilient, and you're not going for nuisance calls. So when somebody calls 911 in this town, usually we're going for something is happening. We rarely, if ever, like literally rarely, if ever, have refusals. It's very rare. We get them occasionally, most of the time we get them, it's gonna be on like a car wreck or a fender bender or something like that. But if somebody calls 911 from their house, probably 9.9 out of 10 times we're transported. So they're legitimate, real emergencies. And I do know in big cities, they do that. And especially in big cities where they have separate services as well. But even in Boston, if you call 911, an engine's coming. A fire engine's coming.
Yes.
And they're probably gonna get there first before the ambulance does. And there's gonna be 4 or 5 guys on that engine, plus the 2 people coming off the ambulance. So they're getting to that 6. I have people in here that work private ambulance that cover cities like Revere, Chelsea, all of those places. They all send a fire company of some kind first and with all of them. It's not even remotely like optional or not happening. It happens. It happens. So we are doing what is the national standard. That's what we do. We try to meet or exceed national standards or averages in what we do. So we are below the national average in the arrival of our first ALS provider. We're quicker than the national average. Our response times for EMS and fire are either right on or below the national average, meaning we perform better than the national average. So those are the kind of metrics that are very, very important to me because they directly correlate to quality of life for you when we're coming to serve you, right? Everybody's heard of the golden hour and all of that, those things. Like for every minute that we're delayed in getting to you, if you're down, you're potentially losing brain cells or quality of life. That's if you're in cardiac arrest. But regardless of what the emergency is, obviously you want us to get there as quick as possible. And that's a very important metric that we look at our response times really hard. All right. So we've been going for about 35 minutes. We can take a little break unless you all just want to keep going. It's up to you.
Keep going.
Keep going. Keep going.
My father was
No, you
a
keep
Boston
going.
firefighter. My grandfather was a Boston firefighter.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have several Boston firefighters who live in town, and one was on our building committee, Justin Yanosik. He's a captain on a ladder company in Roxbury. So we have good relationships with a lot of those folks, and we, unfortunately, we had to go to emergencies at their homes too. We had a chimney fire at one of the old Boston firefighters' homes last year. But, it's a big brotherhood, so, it's amazing sometimes they'll show up at our fires or things, and, I remember one in particular, those of you all that live in River's Edge, when we had the fire on Red Maple Run, there were 2 Boston firefighters that sent me a video of the fire and things, and they were extremely complimentary of our deployment and our service. They were like, it's amazing to me how quick you guys are and how efficient you were. He said in Boston, you'd have been fighting, you'd almost wrecked, bumping into the trucks pulling in. You all get there with 1 engine with 4 people. Then Chief comes up a little bit later, and then Millis pulls in, and it's like everybody's working and on the same page, and things happen. The fire went out, and they were just like, it's impressive the level of service you all provide, especially with limited resources. And that was the thought for him, was like, when I go to a fire like that, I'm showing up with a 5-man engine, a 5-man ladder, a battalion chief that's got 2 people, he's got a chief and an aide, and that's just the first arriving units, along with multiple others coming right behind them. And for us, that timetable happens, but it's staggered and it's much slower.
But you're not getting bunches of stones thrown at you either.
No, we're not.
Okay.
No, we're not. You're right about
Busting you up.
that. You're right about that. And I'm not saying listen, truthfully, fire doesn't burn any different here than it does in Boston. But the life safety hazard in Boston is way higher, right? That's why they have to have the staffing they have on every piece, right? Every single nook and cranny in a building that is livable, there's probably somebody living in it. So their life safety hazard is enormous, right? For us, it's not like that. If it was, we'd really be behind 8 ball. You all would be some unhappy folks because we would not be providing nearly the level of service that you would need. All right, this is getting into the fun stuff, the nitty gritty, right? So, budget. This is our operating budget for this current year.
So this is fiscal year 2025?
Yes. Or 26.
26, yeah.
Year 26. So this is our operating budget. There's a part of me that likes to highlight, or I don't want to say brag, but to highlight that we have between Rentham, Plainville, and us, and Franklin, which are the KP towns, we have the lowest fire department budget of anyone. And we can stand toe-to-toe with any of those departments and probably outperform them on a man-for-man basis. And that's just truth. And I have no disrespect towards anybody on those departments. They're great people. I just know my people are that good and they're that dedicated. And it's not about just being good. I know the level of training. I know what they do day in and day out, trying to be the absolute best they can be at this job. So back right there, you've got an instructor who we call him Doc sometimes, but if you are hurting, sick, or ailing, that is who you want, right? One of the best, probably trained a ton of the medics that are in the surrounding communities because he teaches for college, all right? Tyler Conley has taken 8 million classes on technical rescue, so he's more proficient and can help us in that world. Eric is new and taking classes and learning every day. Billy Vetchell teaches for the State Fire Training Academy, as well as he's on the state hazmat team. So all of our personnel are heavily credentialed and trained heavily. So, and guess what? You're not paying a premium for that. Many places, you pay a premium for that. Many places, you're gonna pay extra because they have, these other certifications or capabilities. We don't charge a premium for that, which is, important to me, and it shows the level of commitment our personnel have and dedication that they have. Yes.
With the projected budget, I understand it's a projected budget, because that's how we do it. Does it include overtime based on past years' overtime averages? Or
Yes.
Okay, cool. Just want to make sure that was considered.
So-
Okay, you guys really you don't get paid a lot when I did the averages and stuff like that.
No,
I'm gonna say you don't get paid a lot.
No, so we get comps and all that. We are nowhere close to being on the high end. We're actually a little bit below midline. So we're very prudent and probably fiscally responsible, probably sometimes to the firefighters' chagrin, because they see other firefighters in other communities making $5,000 to $10,000 more than them to do the same job. But again, that shows their level of passion and dedication to you, the citizens. I don't think anybody raise your hand, you heard any complaints from my union? Anybody? Anybody heard any complaints about or disgruntledness from my union or my personnel about anything really?
Not since I've been here. I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying,
Oh.
so you go to other communities and there's a lot of chirping about, we need this, we don't have that, we're not happy about that. The community is they understood and took it last year when I had to go to them and say, listen, we are probably going to have to drop to 3 sometimes towards the end of the year, which is something I detest. I'm just being honest, because to me it endangers them. It puts them in a position where they're having to make Sophie's choice, and then it also puts you all at risk because we aren't fully staffed. But sometimes you have to make those tough decisions when there's a financial crisis or financial issues. So we have had to drop to 3 sometimes. And the other thing I want to point out is that is the smallest expense budget of any fire department that you will find within probably a 50-mile radius. That's not a full-time department. Now, you may find a call department or something like that that's exclusively called, that only runs 400 or 500 calls a year, something like that. But you go to a full-time, fully staffed municipal department, you will not find one with a lower budget than that. That is all we have annually, and this is actually a little bit up, but it fluctuates up and down. We don't have, and we don't spend a lot on equipment. So I'll give you examples, right? The Halligan bars that are on that engine out there are at least 12 years old, at least. Most departments are getting new access, that kind of stuff regularly. We don't. Not because we may not, we get them when we need them, let's put it that way. So some of them are old, but they polish them, they take care of them, and they work, right? You got a ladder truck out there that's being replaced, right? You would not know that that truck is 30 years old.
So those expenses, that's not capital
No.
expenses,
That's
that's operating.
That's the operating expenses, so that's to keep the lights on in here, that's to get the clothing for the firefighters, that's their PPE, that's all the EMS supplies, that's everything we do to run the fire department.
Does it include a training?
That includes training.
Do we have a full-time mechanic that repairs ambulance and fire trucks when needed?
So we have a intermunicipal agreement with Foxborough.
Okay,
They have certified EVTs, which is emergency vehicle technicians,
okay, so,
that do that maintenance that's outside of what our mechanics can do. Which there are certain things, like our mechanics can't work on certain components of emergency vehicles because you have to be an emergency vehicle technician.
well, we have a deal going.
Yes.
I mean, we're not paying
Yes.
full price.
No, we have an intermunicipal agreement that'll actually, it gives us a pretty, like, before we had that intermunicipal agreement, we were going to fire truck authority, which was very expensive.
Okay.
So we're saving, we actually are doing much better with that.
And that's also, is that included here? That's a different agreement.
No, that's like, this is,
That's the fire truck repairs in there?
everything we have to do is in here. We accept, so there are portions of the fire truck, so tires and stuff like that come out of the DPW budget.
Sure.
Okay? So if we had to do that, that number would never come close.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to ever-
Fuel comes out of DPW also,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yes. So, but that's what we have. Now, the budget that we have through DPW, the good rule of thumb is, what I was taught in fire administration is, the good rule of thumb is to have 10% of your fleet cost, like brand new, as your maintenance cost. We're nowhere close. Nowhere close. And it is what it is. We have to do what we have to do, but we're nowhere close. All right, that's just it's a rule of thumb that I was taught that we aren't, and that's okay. That's okay. Like, because we've been able to navigate, and because of the care that the personnel put into how they maintain and take care of the equipment. You have a 30-year-old ladder truck, you have an engine out there, the backup engine is overdue for being replaced. But it is what it is, right? They take good care of it, and we're gonna keep it running as long as we can, but it's due to be replaced. It's due to be replaced by all consensus standards. It's over 20 years old. That is the NFPA standard. The NFPA fire apparatus standard, NFPA 1901. 20 years is the hard cutoff date that they like to use. 20 years of service, that's it, 20 years. So we extend trucks longer than that. We got a 30-year-old ladder truck out here. We had a 30-year-old tanker till we got the new one. We had a 20-year-old engine that really was causing us, it wasn't quite 20. We had to replace the engine. It wasn't 20 years old because it was just so beat up. So, yes.
How many employees take work trucks home from here?
2.
2 employees.
Yep, me and the deputy.
Can I ask why they're unmarked? In our bylaws, we're supposed to have a decal on our trucks. Why are they not decaled?
The same way the police chief and the police chiefs are unmarked, the fire chiefs
That's
are unmarked.
police.
And
I'm talking
I
fire.
don't, mine actually has a Norfolk placard on the front of it.
That's on the license plate, not on the side.
No
door.
decals, they've
And it's in a
never,
bylaw. The town has a bylaw.
they've never required it, and they've never been on there
The
since
town
I've been
is-
here. Since I've been here, like, it's never been, even
Have
before
you
I was
been
here.
told, anything about a decal? No, I'm talking to Chief Kelly or Assistant Kelly. Nothing?
No.
No. I'm just curious, yeah.
I do, like.
It's in bylaw.
Yeah,
That
it's,
should be, so they're unmarked for fire issues.
Everybody, everywhere I've been a fire chief, nowhere have I had a marked vehicle. In Sherburne, well, Sherburne I did after, originally I didn't. The original car they gave me, they got told.
That's fine, we just, when the new administrator comes, and
Yes.
if either we go by the bylaws in our town as a resident,
Yes,
you should go by the bylaws also.
agreed,
That's all.
agreed. And I would have no problem putting decals on it. I think one of the things I've heard from other chiefs, the reason why, because most fire chief vehicles aren't marked, the reason they don't is because if I'm driving around you know, say I'm going to Stoughton for a basketball tournament with my son, the expectation is there's a fire in town that I come back, right? So sometimes people get upset if they see their Norfolk vehicle in Stoughton. You know, why is it in Stoughton? Because they don't understand. They're like, hey, that's the chief's car, and he has to get in it and leave, which I've done on multiple occasions, to come back to town. So I think that's part of it because
But we're
there's been
paying your
complaints.
gas. We're paying the gas.
Oh, I
That's
don't-
coming out of the fuel,
I
so.
don't mind. I would not have a problem with having a decal. It was never
Yeah,
It was never said, I have no
That's
problem, none
No, no, no.
whatsoever.
Not a problem, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's part of the fuel expenses. So
Yes.
if we're paying the fuel expenses and we're trying to cut a budget, that's all I'm saying.
Yes.
We're looking for ways to save money.
Yes.
And that's what we're
Yes.
doing.
Absolutely.
But we have to make the expectation that he wouldn't be come back for any emergency call. And we'd have to accept that as a town. If he's not allowed to use his vehicle.
It's a decal.
Oh, you're just talking about decal.
It's
You're
a
okay
decal.
with him going to Stoughton?
I don't care if you go.
Okay, cool. Okay, yeah.
You do what you want.
And
I don't care what you do.
I'll share this too, like, anytime I have to travel.
But usually you would take your own car if you're going to,
But
Yeah.
he can't because he's always on call. So like that's,
No,
So when if
we
I
can't
go,
expect him to be back for a call. That's
if
what
I
I'm
go, the way my contract is written, I'm expected to show up unless I'm out of state or unable to respond. And I actually, neither of us have a problem with having decal. I've never had a problem with having decal on my car. Like, I voluntarily
it's just weird,
outfitted
it's a
this.
bylaw, I tell you.
Yeah.
And the town administrator Justin never said anything. And this other man's only get 20 hours a week. So it just seems like you guys don't have a boss right now.
Yeah, that's something I've never been, nobody's ever said anything to me about. Because
How old
the
are the
previous,
cars? How old are they?
So, our car 3, which was the original chief's car from 2015 or 16, so that one is about 10. His is a 2019 and mine is a 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the vehicle before that the past chief Coleman Bushnell had, which was previously our driving around car, wasn't marked, nor was, I believe, the Chevy Tahoe that Chief Bushnell.
It's just funny, it's in a bylaw.
Oh, I,
So that's
trust me,
why
I
it's kinda
agree.
like,
I see what you're saying, I just,
Come on.
I want to try and set the scene.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, this is just a trend of our budget. You can see it kind of stays kind of flat. There's small increases every year. Again, that's just a result of, hey, everything costs more every year. Like this year, for example, our medical supplies from Stryker have increased 9% in 1 year. And they just did another 7% increase, officially goes into effect November 1st. So when I do my budget, and I originally, like last year, I had to come back and ask for money for ambulance supplies because mid-year, there was like a 20% jump in the cost of our EMS supplies. Now, I don't get to control that, unfortunately. So it is what it is. Like, I think you all know and are aware of some of the costs that are going up with materials. And the thing that I really don't like, and I think is utterly ridiculous, is the cost of a fire apparatus or an ambulance right now. When I first became a fire chief, you could get an engine for $500,000. I can get an ambulance for $250,000. Anybody want to guess what a bargain
1.2 million.
fire truck is right now?
Oh, fire truck?
Bargain.
3 million.
No.
Just a regular
This
fire
is-
truck.
A bargain regular fire truck now is going to cost you $800,000 to $900,000. If you get one that is actually made for, like if you actually customize it, which most people do, you're going to be paying over $1 million. Over $1 million. Rentham just put in their budget for a new engine, it's $1.2 million. And it's not any really bells and whistles. It's just, it's an engine that does the job. You go to a ladder truck, you can be over 2.5 or 2.6 for one vehicle. An ambulance now is $500,000. It is literally, and then the other thing that is difficult to navigate for us as chief officers is, if I have a replacement, like my engine one's due to be replaced, right? I know we can't replace it right now, in the next probably 2 years. But the problem is, there's a 4-year wait. If I ordered it today, I still wouldn't get it for 4 years. if it was custom. Now, what we've done to try to take advantage of that, the ambulance that we have that's coming in was a stock unit. The ladder truck was a stock unit. That engine out there was a stock unit. We saved money and time by buying stock units, right? So they're nice, and they have the things we need, and we got in, and we started the purchase process early enough to where we could customize some things, but we couldn't customize everything. So there are things that they sacrifice on the vehicles that they're in every day, all day, on behalf of the town, because it's a cost savings for us to buy a stock unit, which means we can't adjust or change too much about it. We can change some stuff, like we can move a handle here or there, or add a discharge here or there because it's the way we operate, but we can't reconfigure the cab, for example. We can't add, more water to it, or, things like that. So those are things that we do and we work really hard at doing, especially Jack and I, kind of studying that stuff so we can kind of make sure we're getting the most out of what we were able to get in terms of apparatus and equipment, and to make sure that it advances the department forward. I think that's the hardest challenge for us, is we try to advance the department forward, and a lot of times we have to be okay with. Every year we've gone for a budget. Every single year I've gone for a budget. It's a level service or level funded. Every single year. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I can plan all I want. I can study all I want. We're not advancing nothing, because some advancements take money. They do. It is what it is. They just take money. Some advancements take money. I wanted to upgrade us to critical care paramedicine, which will require a couple more adjuncts and things for us to use. We can't do it because we can't afford to do it. I can't afford to take the people out of service to go train to that level, and I can't afford to get the extra equipment to put on the ambulance to make us that level. But that would be a great service enhancement, and one that would benefit us, right? But it's something that I can't really put on the table right now. Community paramedicine is something that we've looked at, which means we would have the ability of personnel to come do basic wellness checks, compliance with medications, things like that, which is all insurance billable, but it requires manpower and money to get started. We can't do that because we don't have the resources that are able to do that. So there are enhancements that we would like to do that we can't. And that's okay too, because at the end of the day, you determine the level of service you get. All right, that's the truth. It's not me. You may think, oh, the fire chief is solely responsible for determining the level of service we get. No, I'm not. I am responsible for managing the resources you give me to give you the best absolute result with the resources you give me. So the resources that we're given, we try to manage them so you get an exceptional product, no matter what. But when it comes down to enhancing or doing some things that maybe other departments you've heard of are doing, we can't do some of those things because it's not fiscally possible.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are the salaries negotiated by a union, and how does that
Yes.
interplay?
They're under, we have a union contract. So the salaries, once the union contract is ratified and done, that part is pretty much set. It's set. So, outside of, the salaries is set. And quite honestly, for me, again, the way I look at this, you all are my external stakeholders, right? As the citizens in the community, they are my internal stakeholders. The stakeholders are the most important thing to me. So if I have to sacrifice, getting a fire truck or an administrative assistant to make sure that there's boots on the ground and that my firefighters have what they need to do the job, so be it. Because the stakeholders are what's most important for me in the way that I choose to lead. Like, you all are the most important. They're the most important. And we don't always agree and see eye to eye. I've got experience other places, they've got experiences other places, but we're able to work just like a family, right? There's always disagreements and things like that, but we're able to work through it like a family.
When's the next negotiations for?
We are 2 years.
We just finished
We just finished,
negotiations.
yeah.
It's every 3 years?
In fiscal year '25, and it's every 3 years.
Yeah, so 28 will be another round of negotiation.
And is the chief and deputy,
We
they have a
are,
contract?
we have individual contracts, Yes.
Not
So-
in the union.
Not with the union. We don't have the union protection, any of that, so we're on our own.
Well, we,
Yes.
Has anybody ever done a breakdown of per average, how much it costs per call?
I will give you that number, Italy. Yes.
I live right across the street, but you guys are always on the move. Thank you for not turning on your sirens, but yeah, so the lights are always on.
So we talked a little bit about,
You didn't get all the budget maybe. We gave, I know we gave, it, but I guess we can testify.
absolutely,
In 50 states.
no.
Listen, okay, in this state.
When you go tour this station, I would challenge you to go to Walpole's new station, go to Metfield's new station, and tell me what about this is bigger or exorbitant compared to either one of those.
When I say absorbent, it's bigger and better.
That feels is ridiculous.
So I'm just saying, like, so I will say this, any component that is built into this building, all right, any component, there is not anything in this building that you won't find in any modern firehouse in this country. Nothing. Recliners included.
oh, yeah.
Recliners included. So everywhere I have ever worked, the recliners in the
Oh,
building.
recliners.
So every firehouse I've ever worked in, there's either couches or recliners or something because we have to live here.
What's your, what are the schedules? What is it, like, I think to help put things in perspective too, what's your, like, is it 48 on, 24 off, like, what do you guys work?
They work 1 day on, 1 day off, 1 day on, 5 days off. So they spend, if you want to take it just in sheer numbers,
And that's 24 hours?
Yes.
You say 1 day?
a firefighter here spends 1/4 of their life or 1/3 of their life here. This is their
Like
other
they're-
home. Physically, they're here, yes. So that is why some of the components of making it homey are absolutely important, because you don't want miserable firefighters to feel like they're in an industrial building for 60 or 1/3 of their life. That leads to burnout, it leads to lack of job satisfaction, and, you know, quite honestly, we just talked about, right? How challenging do you think it was for us as chief officers and the chiefs before me to know that you're living in a trailer, I have one firefighter here, if you don't mind me sharing, has been injured walking from the trailer to get in an ambulance to go help one of you, but he needed medical aid, right? So the situation we were in is no question, was just not a good one. It was going to be real. It was not a good one. But think about the challenges. And one of them can tell you, how many people have we had leave in less than 10 years?
On average, we lose, I think in the past 10 years, we've lost more than 10 to go to neighboring departments or other departments. We're averaging at least one a year.
So now what has happened is we're flipping the script. Now we're drawing people here, right? Because there's no longer a trailer, right? Right, and our pay is better, you're closer to midline. But imagine before, you're living in a trailer, you have to walk across to get into the rigs and respond, and you're also making $5,000 to $10,000 less than somebody in the next community doing the exact same job. Imagine what that feels like to them, and the challenge it is for me to keep morale up when they're running, 2,000 calls a year, when they're getting up at 3:30 in the morning when it's 20 below outside and going to work. That's a challenge. It's a very difficult challenge.
I don't think anybody thought that was a town or permanent solution.
Yeah. No.
That's what you voted for.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we
I
didn't
just said
expect
keep it
this,
there.
we didn't
Yes.
have an option of smaller. But people in town, as you're saying, because people know you spend $10,000 on a kitchen table. People know you bought 9 lazy boy recliners. Some people in town don't even have a lazy boy recliner. So the outcome, what people think, is like, oh, it's like
The
the
perception.
car.
It's a
It's the
perception.
perception, so I'm,
And I want to clear some of that because you will see, when we get out on the apparatus floor, you'll see that this building isn't too big. When you get out there on the apparatus floor, you'll see we fit what we're supposed to fit. There's no extra room out there. Like there's space for maybe one more vehicle, maybe. There's not like a ton of extra space. And then the other piece of this that was really important is, we're going through with the school right now, right? They need more space, right? That was just a major expensive project, what, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
So, this one, I don't have to come back and ask you when we grow as a town. I don't have to come ask you for nothing because the only thing I gotta do is hire more bodies and put them in the bedrooms. Guess what I can do right now that I never had the ability to do? When a nor'easter comes through, I can hire back a whole shift and cover it. And they don't have to sleep in a jail cell or a cot on the floor, right? So every area of this building is going to get used. And I know on the surface it looks big, but again, I asked you to go look at Medfield's, look at Sharon's, look at look at Franklin's headquarters. This is a headquarters. We do everything to run the fire department from this building. This building is not oversized and it's not too big. Not even close.
How does it compare to Walpole's got twice that size? Franklin's twice our population?
Franklin is big, but this is the thing. If Franklin was just our population and had one fire station, it would be the same size as this one, or bigger.
They got 2 fire stations.
They got 2, right.
Two.
We have everything under one roof. So you look at Walpole, they're running out of 3 buildings, we're running out of 1, and their one main building is as big as this building. So Plainville's building is as big as this building, their population's smaller, right? So you gotta look at and compare to, the way to look at this is, hey, you feel like it's too big, but if you go look at all of the other community departments around here, you take the total square footage they have under one roof, not just the one building, but Franklin has 2, Walpole has 3, Plainville has 1, Rentham has 2. You take all of that into account, this building is nowhere near too big. It's actually prudently sized and built, but also built with the needs of the future included in it, so that I don't have to come back to you in my career and be like, hey, can you all give me another 20 million to do an extension because we need 2 more bays and 5 more bedrooms? Don't need it.
I think a big issue too with any capital project for the state is you have to use prevailing wage.
Yes.
So you're never gonna actually get your lowest bidder, because it's always gonna be
Yes.
union and prevailing wage work. So it's not like building a private establishment.
No.
This building we built way cheaper privately, you can't do that.
The other thing is too, like, there is literally probably $1 million in the way this building is framed and the roofing because of bylaws. You talked about bylaws. It has to have a pitched roof. You put a flat roof on, that would save close to $1 million.
Yeah,
So
we've had a problem with roofs in this town.
yeah, well, I'm just making a point, like, it does look, it looks wonderful, right? It's way bigger than what it was, right? But it is prudently, and what you don't realize is that the space that it takes encompasses what used to be a building out back with stuff in it, and a building down the street with stuff in it. So now when we have water rescues, we don't have to drive down the street in one of the trucks, pick up a boat, and then go to the call. We hook it up right here and go. We don't have to keep special hazards outside exposed to elements because there's nowhere for it to fit, which, by the way, is a capital expense you pay for that's just sitting out there to rot. Now it's not like that. It's inside of a building and well taken care of, and now it'll start when we need it, as opposed to crap. It won't start again. Just go grab the stuff you need out of it, throw it in this truck, and then go to the call, right? So those are all of the benefits you have from this building being appropriately sized and appropriately sized for the future. The other thing about this building, what we're doing in here right now, the civic organizations that have used this building already, this is your building. It's a community building. So we've had the Lions in here. We've had other civic organizations. The youth football has been here. Youth hockey's been here. Softball. So again, a way for us to engage and interact with the community, but provide another space for the community because this is your building, right? That's a very important component of this for me, is to be able to do things like this and to be able to provide a resource like this in town, because we all know that the town is short on civic space, right? We all know that, right? Meeting space is at a premium. Well, now we have another space available for everybody to use. So this is our recent capital project. You just mentioned it. I am very proud of it. I am proud to say that it came in under budget. I'm proud to say that your citizens, your friends, colleagues were excellent building committee members, and they did a great job. They did a good job, one, with the checks and balances, two, with their unique expertise, because we had engineers, we had architects that are from the community, so they were able to even hold some of the people working on this building accountable and say, hey, that process doesn't make any sense. This is what I do for a living. You should do it this way. And that was very helpful. I really think the best part of this project was the transparency piece, and then the part that we were able to come to the town with a project with a cost in hand. There wasn't a, hey, this is just an open checkbook, we're gonna come back to you and ask for all these change orders and all of this. Nope. It was a set number, and we came in under it. And that, I take a lot of pride in that as well, because I know the perception is that it's big, and I know the perception is, you know, why do you have these recliners, and why did you do that table? Our set budget for that table, we came in under it. The table wasn't 10,000, it was under 10,000. We actually had other options for tables that were more expensive that we rejected. So, again, we really worked hard to make sure that things were done prudently. And I'll give you an example. Boston Firehouse, our same architect, designed and did. You know how much their kitchen table cost? I'll give you 3 guesses. How much their kitchen table cost?
How many people is it?
10.
Oh.
$48,000. And it also had to be lifted into place with the crane.
Crazy.
So,
Is it horrible?
I don't know what it is, but it's,
So that's why it's like the wasteful money, it's like such a waste of money.
that is great, that's an example of something that is exorbitant, but also, if you think about, if I go to IKEA and get an IKEA quality table for the kitchen table, you know how many times do I ask you for a new table? Yeah.
And you guys are using it every meal?
Every meal, every day.
Every day.
So, in my years here, before we moved into the new station, you know how many new kitchen tables we got?
0, 1.
3. 3.
How much?
3. How many chairs we got?
How much were they?
4. We've had to replace the chairs 3 times, no, more than that. The chairs broke out.
Some of those tables were donated
Yeah.
from businesses because we kept having to go back to new tables.
Yes. So,
So what is the water for the retention? Is that broken out there? The
This-
water retention?
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. So this is our recent project, and I want to answer the tough questions, and I want you all to be proud of this building and proud of the work we did, because it was a lot, and it was painstaking work. And, you know, it was a lot for me, honestly, because there were a lot of times the architects and the other consultants would be like, Chief, are you sure? Like, you do know that that's not enough, or that is underestimating based on what, you know, you've looked at and what we've studied for programming and everything else. Because we were so, all of us were so conditioned to and used to what we had, anything felt like an upgrade. But the one thing that I didn't want to do is have an upgrade, have you all pay for it, and then come back in 5 years and be like, hey, I need you to add on some more. So that was the painstaking part, to study, like, hey, what is the potential max growth, or what is the potential for us to serve from this location, and how long without having to add another station? And the build out of Norfolk, based off of the bylaws and everything else, we should be able to serve from right here for a long time. Probably long enough that I won't even be alive anymore by the time you need an auxiliary building or another station somewhere. Because all we have to do is hire the manpower. That's what we have to do. That's all we have to do. Next project. So, this is a current one, the new ambulance. It will be in service probably the 1st of next month. But that is our new ambulance. Our 2 ambulances we have now, we have made the decision to keep all 3 ambulances, because right now our service is at a point where we are actually running 2 ambulances. We aren't just having one and a backup. We routinely run both ambulances, and you all don't really know this, but I've had to borrow ambulances from surrounding communities over the past 3 years, multiple times. So it's important for us to keep one of our own as reserve, so that we aren't taking an unfamiliar piece of apparatus and putting our stuff on it and using it. Actually, that transport I was talking about earlier, where Ryan Conley, our call member, one of those transports of a town employee was in a borrowed ambulance from another town. But again, that just goes to show you the efforts we go to and lengths we go to make sure you have services provided to you. And we do all of that through intermunicipal agreements. We don't have to pay Franklin when we borrow an ambulance. We don't have to pay Medway when we borrow an ambulance, or Walpole. It's something we do in kind. But that also means if one day I have to loan them one, please don't come crucify me and yell like, why are you sending out resources? Because they've helped us out immensely. Rentham, we even borrowed an engine for 6 months. We borrowed an engine, right? So that, we have to be able to be good neighbors and share. So like, that's just something that the extent we go to make sure that you are taken care of and serviced, that is the utmost premium.
So, Chief, if, you know, I needed an ambulance, my family did, what are the choices of the ambulance runs? What hospitals are they allowed to go to?
So the hospitals, it's going to be dictated by protocols and then the severity of what you have going on. So, you know, if all your doctors are at VI Needham, for example, and you are stable enough to transport to VI Needham, we can transport you to VI Needham, right? Now, we do not typically transport into the city unless it is a trauma or necessary, because that ends up keeping our ambulance out of service for like 2 hours by the time we're able to get there and get back. So, but you do have a choice unless protocol says otherwise. So, for instance, if you're having a stroke, I have to take you to a stroke center. I can't take you to a place that isn't going to have the proper interventions for a stroke. If you have a trauma, I can't take you to a place in our trauma center. It's going to do you no good, right? Because they can't provide care for you. If you're you need a cath lab, you're having a heart attack, I got to go to a hospital with a cath lab. It doesn't do any good to take you one that doesn't, because you're just going to die on the table there.
I think he's asking, what towns do you go to? Do you go to Good Sam's? Do you go to St.
Yes.
Elizabeth's? Where do you go?
We go to VA, we go to VI Needham, we go to Newton Wellesley, we go to BMC South, which is Good Sam, we go to Sturdy, we go to Milford, we go to Framingham. Those are the main cluster that we go to. We occasionally will go down to Rhode Island if we can't get into the city for a trauma or something. But Milford, UMass will go out to Worcester if we have to. And then obviously we'll have a helicopter come if it has to. But
Children's?
we definitely will go to Children's. We've transported some peds to Children's. We've been to Children's in Worcester and in the city. And yes, we're going to Norfolk. So that's why I said you kind of have a choice. Well, we do have to, you have to be prudent about, one, what your medical condition is, and two, we also have to think about, we got a town to cover, so we can't drive 3.5 hours somewhere or be tied up for that when we need to get back in service for the next person that might have an emergency.
When it comes to Norfolk MCI, do you guys you obviously do a lot of the calls there,
Yes.
I know that. Do we have an agreement with them for them to actually pay, or does the town not get paid for ambulance
No,
calls?
we get paid.
Okay.
We get paid. Now, I will say this, if you all take anything from this, if you all want to lean on the legislatures to push those fees up a little bit, because.
Can you give a number on what they do?
They won't even give us prison mitigation fees now.
What do they pay per ambulance?
It depends on the run, just like everything else. So if it's ALS, they pay a discounted rate. I think it's like $750 or $800.
God, man, I wish I could pay that little. Great.
And the only thing about the prison is, I'll say this, is the prison is a guaranteed payout. We don't have any abatements or anything from there, so like, the prison's a guaranteed payout. That's the only probably upside to that, is that it's a guaranteed payout. Like, we don't run a risk. Like, sometimes we'll have a vehicle accident or something like that, for somebody transit, we may have to throw the bus out and keep them alive, we don't get it out. It is what it is, like, we face that. But that's one of the other positives about this community as well, is that the people that live here, most people have insurance, and then when someone does approach us with a hardship, we examine it thoroughly, and if you're a town resident and you have a hardship, I'm gonna waive some of that fee. I know sometimes the finance director gets mad at me, but that's who I am and that's how I operate. So, you know, I'll take the beating, because ultimately, again, this is about you, the citizens, and customer service. So,
If you go somewhere and it's a false alarm, and then a false alarm again, say it's a school, do you charge the school a second time?
nope. It's something I've thought about, especially for commercial businesses, if we get nuisance alarms or we have to employ multiple times. You know, but then I don't want to get into, the reason we haven't done that yet is because I don't want to get into a situation where one of you has a malfunctioning something, and then I'm coming to you with a bill saying, hey, we've had 5 nuisance alarms in the calendar year, you owe me this much for responses. I don't want to do that.
I know Framingham does, that's why I was just curious about it.
We actually don't, we have reduced those numbers, and I'll show you in our statistics, we have reduced those numbers actually because we have adjusted, we've gone away from a radio box system which we had, which malfunctioned a little, well, it malfunctioned a lot. And it caused some unnecessary responses, if you will, or a lot of false alarms. We no longer have that system, so not that we still don't get false alarms here and there, but the number is down. All right, this is also current capital. This is one that I'm very proud of. Like I said, we need a new ladder truck. We are doing a joint purchase through a regional grant from FEMA for a new ladder truck. That is like a blueprint of what it's going to basically look like. It will enhance our service capabilities, maneuverability, being able to spot it, place it, and do things that right now our aerial can't do. The other thing I'm very proud of is that when I get on the top of that one, the outriggers aren't going to come off the ground on the other side.
Is that say 100 feet?
Yes.
It's a 100-foot ladder?
Yes. Wow. It's 10 feet shorter than our current one. Before
Is that
you
the one
say
that
it.
had the front?
No, how big is, what's the tallest building in town?
It has nothing to do with the height of the building.
Doesn't?
No. It's a misconception too. So it's about the setbacks from the road. That's what you're overcoming, not up. Now in the city, it's up, right? And their 100-foot aerials don't even come close.
Right.
Because the buildings, so for us, it's about the setback. So we have a 110-foot aerial, and believe it or not, there's been places we could not get that to the roof.
I mean, we have a 50-foot, well, now we do, we have a bylaw that says you can't be more than 50 feet back from the road, right?
Right.
So 50 feet, then you can go 50 feet up from there.
Sort of, but if you take the angle and all of that, you're
You're a little bit
reducing. Yeah, so that's the reason for that, and that is the reason for 100 feet. 100 feet is actually the minimum that we would do, both consulting with Rentham and us, because we would in essence we'd have a multi-million-dollar piece of equipment that was pointless, because most of the setbacks in the neighborhoods we would never reach where we want to reach. So 100 feet allows us to do that. Like for example, the Red Maple Run Fire, Millis has a 110-foot area, just like we do. They made that roof cut, and they almost had their area fully extended from where they had to set up.
They had 100 feet?
110.
They had 100 feet?
So that's what you're overcoming. It's like, you know.
So if you have a fire like the one on Main Street, that was
Yes.
you had to get down the driveway and you had to go off, right?
So that was, we used Walpole as mutual aid on that particular incident. And their tower is 100 feet. It's a little bit, it's a different configuration. It's bigger than what this is by a lot, actually. But it was evidence of where 100 feet is needed, right? If that would have been shorter than 100, we probably don't accomplish what we accomplished on that fire ground without the reach. So it is in construction. It should be in service at the first of the year.
So how is it gonna be a joint project with Rentham?
So I will explain the details. So I worked with the fire chief in Rentham. I wrote the grant. We hosted the grant. I'm proud to say we received the grant. It was the highest grant awarded in the state of Massachusetts by the federal government in probably the last, 10 or 15 years is what I heard. So very proud of that, but The regional part is a huge one because both Tony Marino, the chief in Brentham, and I both have a passion for customer service, but also both know, like, we can't afford to go at this by ourselves. Like, we can't both afford to buy a $1.6, $1.7 million ladder and like it not be a Clint, it not have a bucket, that kind of stuff, and just have status quo. This strategy represents an enhancement because this is a much more stable place to operate and rescue people from, but also even things like a chimney fire. That's the one of the things for me that gives me the most angst around here when we have chimney fires, because we put people on the tip of that ladder out there and I watch the outriggers bounce down off the ground, and it just makes me uncomfortable. And knowing that the technology is 30 years old and I'm putting a human being on the tip of it makes me uncomfortable. So this is an enhancement, and the way we're doing that is we will house the apparatus, and right now, any fire in Rentham, we go to it. So we won't really change what we do, we'll just change the vehicle we take. So instead of taking our engine, we'll take this ladder to the calls in Rentham. And that's how it will work. So that's where the change is. And reality is, when Chief Marino and I were talking about it, Rentham is very busy. They're busier than us. They probably run 500 to 600 more calls a year than we do, and they're spread thin. So they almost never get their ladder truck on the road when it's called. So they're always depending on mutual aid from somewhere. So it works out and made the most sense for us. We're busy too, but we are going to be able to put that truck on the road, where with us, when our ladder's needed, even on the fire at Main Street, I chose to use Walpole's ladder because it was much quicker to deploy than us taking and having ours doesn't have a pre-plumbed waterway or anything, and it has no pump. So we would have had to take a ladder pipe and set it up and do all that. And by the time we did all of that, the house would have been on the ground. So I chose to use Walpole's tower because they had pre-plumbed water. All I'll do is hook it up to a hydrant and let it go. So this will have that capability as well. So we're going to be much faster to be able to deploy master streams and much quicker to effect rescues in the event that we need to because of this apparatus.
And if this is being obviously called to a fire in Brentham, we can rely on Walpole to bring their ladder truck here. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
The likelihood of us both having a working fire simultaneously is very slim. I don't think it's, the closest it's come to happen actually was the day of the Red Maple Run fire, and Rentham sent their engine to us, and they got a call for working fire on the opposite end of their town, and mutual aid covered it. So, I mean, it's what we have to do. It's part of what we do in this area. We all help each other, and we all depend on each other. So if there's a fire in Norfolk, you're guaranteed to have at least all the KP towns, plus Millis, plus Foxborough. Every single one. And then if it gets bigger than that, we're going to expand it out. You're going to get, plus Franklin. I forget Franklin's on KP town. Franklin is automatically here. So automatically on a fire in town, you'll get us, Millis, Franklin, Plainville, and depending on where it is, Foxborough. But lately, Foxborough works really well with us. They work very similarly to us. So I've been bringing them directly to the scenes instead of coverage, and it's been great. So that's what we do. And it's the same for those towns too. Like, if there's a fire in Richmond, we're there. If there's a fire in Franklin, we're going. If there's a fire in Plainville, we're going. Like, we all have to help each other because all of us are small.
Do you pay when they come to help you? Do you
No.
pay them?
No. We do not pay them. It's all in-kind or mutual aid service, so we don't owe them anything, and they don't owe us anything when they come help us. It's all done in kind.
So in November, the town meeting, are you gonna be looking for anything new? I mean, this is why these meetings are good, so we can.
So for capital this year, the only thing that I put in for was, we need new saws.
New what?
New saws.
Oh.
Chainsaws and cut-off saws and things like that. So we need new saws. It's probably about $13,000 or $14,000 worth of equipment. So that's what we need. And that's another example of how long we take care of things. So we have these saws called cutoff saws. We have, two Bitmaster saws. The company that makes the saws, we've maintained them and kept them working until now. Now we only have one. We used to have 3. We only have 1 working bent saw, right? We kept and maintained those. The company has been out of service for over 5 years. The company doesn't even exist anymore. That's how long we've had those saws. Those saws, the oldest one is probably 20 years old, and it was still being used. So we try our best to make sure we take care of stuff, but the unfortunate piece is, you brought up the word liability earlier. So now, all of the companies are putting warranties or saying, hey, we're no longer supporting this, so if something happens, you're on your own. Well, I can't expose you all or my personnel to that kind of liability. So there are some things we're gonna have to replace as we go through, but this year the priority was saws, that's it.
No vehicles or anything?
We're not asking for a vehicle because the money's not there. It's no point asking if it's not there. Like, I know what I need. Like I told you, the engine out there is due to be replaced. It was supposed to be ordered to be replaced last year. It's 21, going on 21 years old. But now's not the time, right?
So you're smart.
And we have to navigate through that. And right now, I've worked with the DPW, and that truck is very serviceable. It's still able to do what it needs to do. And until that becomes a liability in and of itself, we will use it. But that comes up in later capital, because this is current. This is
Do
current.
any of your drivers have CDL licenses?
We have a few that have gone through to have CDLs, but everybody has been through what is called emergency vehicle operations course multiple times, most. So that is specialized training with driving these larger vehicles. There's an obstacle course that everybody has to go through. There's serpentines and alley docks and narrow clearances, all of that has to be done and passed in these big vehicles. It was actually a part of the grant as well, and one of the things that helped us secure it is that Captain Getchell and Captain Hamilton both have been through training trainers and put all of our department through the EVOC classes, and that allowed us to secure that grant. It was one of the requirements of the grant. So we're covered under that, and then we also have, I think half the department is going for CDLs.
So don't you need a CDL to
No.
drive something?
You do not. You do not need a CDL. It's kind of, I don't know, sometimes it seems strange to me that, like, you can get behind the wheel of one of these and not have a CDL. You can also get behind the wheel of a 50-foot RV and not have a CDL either, because it's considered so it's just one, but we do train on it, so. All right, we go to, there we go. So future capital, I said future, so here it is. We got to replace this one at some point. That is actually due to be replaced as well. Again, I'm not putting them on the table to be replaced. One thing I would like to do as a planning piece is try to merge the 2 vehicles to get the same service. Instead of having to buy 2 vehicles, buy 1. So that's an example of what that might look like. That would probably be a savings of about at least $500,000, at least, and that's being conservative. Even one of these little buddies here is costing up to $600,000 now, which is crazy. So we're.
If my memory serves me right, that black one, didn't we buy that secondhand?
No, not this one. This one was bought in 2005.
It was a demo truck, I believe.
It was.
But you do buy things secondhand.
We have, like the special hazards out there, I didn't buy it. I negotiated it and got it donated. So that's what we did. We needed something for special hazards because the one that had been staying outside wouldn't start hardly. DPW took it, painted it, and made it a response vehicle for them. But like, what's different is they can afford for it not to start. When you call me, I can't afford for something not to start. I need to start and go. So, but no, this engine. So right now in our fleet, I don't think we have any real second-hand vehicles except for special hazards. There was a time where the ladder truck and one of the previous engines were secondhand, correct?
The ladder truck. No.
The old Pioneer before was bought used and refurbished, right, from somewhere else. But we try not to do that, and I'll tell you why, right? On a primary first out piece, if we want it to be a dependable piece that's gonna serve us, one, if we're gonna make several $100,000 investment in it, I want it to be here a long time. And if it's already had a service life and been retired by somebody else, we're inheriting somebody else's issues in a lot of cases. And you don't want to be on the hook for that, those costs. Now, there is a way to study those and prudently do that. Like, if you go inspect the apparatus and you have the mechanics get up under it and check everything, you may be able to do that. And I'm not opposed to doing that for a backup piece, but I don't think it should be done for a primary first stop response piece for us, because I think it sets us up for problems. All right, so we talked about staffing earlier, and I told you we would talk a little bit about it. So this is that fire on Main Street. I think all of you know, so when we showed up, it was a 3-man crew. Now, that was the hottest day of the year, and when I first got there, I got there a little before the engine. The engine only had 3 people. The engine, when I got out, all I heard was people screaming. There could be 15 people in there. So my heart just sank, because what I was seeing was something that was going to be bad if there was people. Thank goodness there weren't. But as an example, when we show up to something like this with 3 people, now the officer has to make decisions that normally you wouldn't have to make. So normally if we had 4, they stop at the closest hydrant, drop a line, pull up, get the hydrant charged, and be good to go. This one, they had to bypass the hydrant because we only had 3. So you couldn't drop somebody and still actually make a firefight. So by OSHA, we have to have 4 people assembled in order to make an interior fire attack or search or do anything like that. We have to have 4. We have to have 2 in and 2 out. Have to. That is mandated.
Is that a weekday or weekend?
That is a weekday.
That was the one on Main Street.
Right, so you were here or you weren't in the?
I was here.
Okay, so.
So
It was empty. The house was empty.
it ended up being empty, yes. It was it was unpleasant feeling for a while.
How many alarm fire was it?
It actually was 3, but we really had 5 alarms worth of epilepsy. That was me. I called for a second, I think, but after that, I just was calling extra engines as we had people. It was just so hot, people were so exhausted, so.
We were down to 3 due to budget.
Yeah, we're down to 3
We didn't
due to
fill
budget
a
concerns.
top 4
So,
position due to the budget.
And the part that he said about continuity, right? So that's why the 4 is important. Yes, you could say, well, Chief, couldn't you be the 4th? Yeah, but then who's going to be in command and walk around and make sure everybody's safe and check everything? So what I did do was I had my deputy, who should be in a position of helping me as another set of eyes, immediately pack up and dress out so that he could be a part of the crew if they needed it. Now, that's not ideal still, but it's something we do to overcome when we have issues. But we aren't always here either. Like, if I'm at a meeting and he's out of town, that would have been a 3-man crew and only a 3-man crew, right? So I personally never ever want to drop to 3 again. It makes me very uncomfortable. It just does. It really does, because it makes me feel like the town isn't adequately covered for all hazards, right? If it was just a medical, even, and it's a high acuity one, you were still understaffed with 3. We transport probably at least once or twice a week with 3 people because people are so sick they need 2 attendants, right? So imagine if that was not a fire but a bad medical. The town now has no one in it to cover it but me and him, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but we're supposed to be running and administering, not the boots on the ground per se. Now, we understand that we have to be, because that's the nature of what we do. We understand there are times where we have to be, but that shouldn't be a common thing or a default. Hey, the chief has to put a pack on and go in the building. And don't get me wrong, I love doing that, but that is not what I should be doing, all right? It really isn't. I love doing it, because I love that part of the job, I really do. But I should not be doing that. So we would like to restore the admin assistant, or bring shift staffing up. This is a perfect world scenario, all right? Perfect world scenario, we would have 4 shifts of 5 plus the admin assistant. I know as well as you do, that's not happening, right? But if we can get traction somehow, and maybe get, we can be creative. Like, I definitely love thinking outside of the box and addressing challenges and trying to do things. So, to accomplish this, there's probably a million scenarios. We've done things in this department, and this is another testament to the previous leadership too. They've done things like have people work peak hours, right? So we know that between the hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., we're going to run probably 80% of our call volume in those hours. So there was once a time before we got to 4 fully on each group where you ran 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. with 4, but from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. there was only 3. I think those are ways and incremental ways to stair step this into play to get to where we might be at 5, right? Where maybe we could have 2 peak hour people and they're working that way again, where they rotate 4 days on, 4 days off, and we have 5 people during peak hours. Or, we're open to even having a day captain instead of an admin assistant. Like, all right, if we split all of that workload between 3 of us, I definitely know the prevention side would be better off. And the things that we have to prioritize, like EMS review and EMS billing, are already being done, but we have to do that. Like, that affects the bottom line, and it could affect outcomes negatively if we aren't reviewing and doing all of that work on the EMS calls. So, that would definitely be an enhancement.
So I got a question. When was the last time you would estimate that we've had consistently 4 people for each event? Was it a year ago, 2 years?
Oh, 4? No, well, to start off, we have 4 almost all the time. Like, we had
Right now?
11, yeah, right now we have 4, and since I started, we have been primarily at 4. Because we got a safer grant.
So this is a request to bring it up to 5?
Yes.
During peak.
Yeah, either 5 per group or 5 during peak hours. There's another piece of this that, like, right now, one of the reasons my overtime is so high is there is no cushion. So if somebody gets hurt or calls out sick, I have to hire back overtime. So I have to account for every single hour of training that they are mandated to have, because they're mandated to do so much training every year. So I have to do that. So I have to secure that revenue or have that money in the budget, because they have to be off to be able to do the training. I have to put in money for vacation. They're contractually get vacation. So I have to cover every single second that they're gone on vacation with overtime. So it's man for man. So I can't have like an overtime budget that says, hey, this is an estimation based on X. I actually have a firm number that I know, and then I have to pad it for the fire calls.
Did your overtime budget essentially pay for the extra personnel?
It wouldn't pay for all of it, but we would reduce, like, there is a way to make the budget on.
You know what I mean? Because
Yes,
it seemed like it would
yes.
offset quite a bit of it.
Yes, there is, it would offset a lot. Actually, I have put together, what did it show, like a 1.5% or 2% increase over what?
It was 1.5%.
1.5% what the town required of our budget to come in at, to bump it up. Because if you do this and we secure minimum man, because we know, okay, 4 is the bare minimum, like that's what the bare minimum is. If we have minimum staffing set at 4, then if we have 5, then that means I have cushion. So if somebody gets hurt, I'm not breaking the bank, right? Or somebody calls out sick, I'm not having to break the bank every single time. It also gives me the flexibility for Like, we know sometimes there's special events throughout the year, or there's times where we're gonna have a lot of people gone, so there's gonna be nobody to come in on callbacks. I'll hire an extra person to be on that shift, and it'll give me the flexibility to do that more often, if I can do that.
So is it less expensive to bring the shift staffing to 5 as opposed to paying overtime to make up for the people?
No, not all the way. It's not. It's gonna cost money to go to 5, but it offsets a lot, because there's a lot of hours that I now don't have to.
It's less expensive to go to 5 with 5 personnel rather than pay the overtime to cover for the 5th person.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely. If we're minimum manning of 4, right, that means for each member of the department, there's a minimum of 54 hours of scheduled overtime. Minimum, because that's the training hours they're guaranteed to have
What I mean in terms
by
of money,
contract.
the money you'd be paying
Yeah.
would be less if you did this as opposed to paying the overtime to cover it.
Yes, if it wasn't man for man, that's what I'm trying to get at. We're at man for man staffing now. If there was cushion and I could reduce one and have one person, say, be green or be off and it not affect the minimum manning, then yes, yes.
So the new people in the academy, when they come out, are they at lower pay rate, or is everyone, or is
No,
it seniority?
we have a step system.
So steps,
Yeah,
I
our
mean,
step system
you should
is-
get rid of assistant administrator, forget that, but go for November, more.
And then, is that what you want, a daytime captain to be that 5th?
It could, yes,
and help
that's
with
the least,
administrative work?
that's the least expensive option to start with, is to say, no admin assistant, do a day captain that's in charge of fire prevention. It gives us an extra body during the day to be with the operational personnel, and also takes a little bit of the load, at least from the scheduling and all of the prevention piece, off of our plate.
Which
So-
may reduce your overtime.
Right, and then also, what it
Sorry.
does, well, no, you're right,
It just makes
because it reduces the workload, but the thing that we're experiencing now, and they'll tell you, when we shifted to this, the way we're staffed now, what we're missing is one of us being able to be engaged and on the floor with the personnel regularly. And that needs to happen, but we can't do it regularly, it's sparingly, because we have so much going on.
You can't leave your
that
people
we
behind,
can't
yeah.
leave, right,
Yeah.
right, which neither one of us really like, but we also know that that's what we had to do, you know, to best serve this community right now. So if we can get a little bit back, we can really maximize and make a big difference for us. Yes?
Just kind of a random question, but so when you have a fire like that, who like investigates the cause, or like who figures that out?
Certified investigator right here. So our police department has certified investigators. He is a certified fire and arson investigator. We are actually responsible by code or by the laws of Massachusetts to do cause and origin determination. But we also have the resource of calling in the state police and the state fire marshal's office, which is, we commonly do that to basically help us. And when he gets a trail and he's on it, that's when we need the police involved. Because when he gets a sniff of something shady, he's like a pit bull. He's gonna go after it until he gets what he needs to get. So,
Were you able to find the cause of this?
yes, we know the cause. We know the cause. It will be logged officially as inconclusive. It is suspected to be a ceiling fan. There's some faulty wiring that caused that, but there is some. Yes, that's what that is.
Extraneous circumstances.
Yes.
So I just have a question. You were talking about going to 3 before.
Yes.
For this fire in particular.
Yes.
And what happened specifically in this situation that caused that again?
So we were, with the budget last year, I had, this was an example. So I had 2 members who had long sicknesses with job-related cancer. So they were both mitigated and they're both fine now, right? But they required significant time off. And having the staff man for man, it obliterated the budget. The other beautiful thing that happened, which is a wonderful thing, there were 3 babies born within our department. So
You gonna hire them?
with 3 babies, obviously we have,
Fourth generation.
you know, paternity and maternity leave that we also encountered. So I was tracking that, and I was able to come to town meeting or come to the town administrator and say, hey, listen, you know, I have this many hours of unscheduled overtime that I didn't account for because I couldn't, I didn't know. We were gonna have 2 people get cancer, I mean, there's always the potential for somebody to have a baby, but I don't know so I came back to the town and said, hey, you know, and it actually has been customary prior to our previous town administrator. It was customary that at spring town meeting, there would be a $20,000 to $40,000 deposit into the fire department for staffing for that reason. Because if we have, for instance, if I have a bad fire season, it's going to obliterate my budget. Because we're going to have a lot of full recalls, and we're going to have fires with extended operations, brush fires where we're there for days on end. It's going to obliterate the budget. Like that, those are the kind of things that I can't control. All I can do is kind of predict. But if they happen, we gotta provide the service, right? And we don't have the luxury of having like a snow and ice budget versus just in case or something where you're allowed to go over or whatever. So I have to go back before the town and officially make requests. So now Justin, the previous town administrator, was very much like, hey, I don't want you coming back asking for any money if it's not absolutely necessary. So his pushback for that was to give us part of the money and not all of it, which meant I had to take some shifts and strategically reduce them to 3. Now, I didn't have to do it as much as I thought I was going to have to. Originally, I thought I was going to have to run basically the last quarter of the year with only 3 personnel. I only ended up having to do about 22 shifts in total. Now, that's still 22 too many if you ask me, but that's significantly less than what we were anticipating when we were running the numbers.
And that probably is a perfect example right there. If there were people trapped in there showing up with 3, would have been an awful situation.
Even with the showing up with 3, like there were things that I did that technically I shouldn't have done. Like I forced the front door dressed just like this because people were saying somebody was in there, and we had to make sure. So I kicked the door in, and as that happened, he was able to walk up behind me with his gear on, and then Captain I was able to walk up behind me as well and just sweep inside the fort a little bit. But there were no hands free to force the door, so I had to do it. And that's where the staffing becomes really, really important.
So you guys put something on social media, didn't you, saying staffing matters, and you took a picture?
That was,
of us?
I think our union did that,
Yeah.
yes.
I don't know.
That was me,
Kinda-
yes, ma'am.
Huh?
That was
That's
me.
always you. It was you, okay.
Yeah.
I just
So-
saw it, yeah.
So, this fire kind of is a perfect example to piggyback what they said. I mean, everyone saw the news about Fall River. Fall River had 3 main companies for the most part on all their engine companies, and they had 10 people die in elderly housing. Because they just didn't have the numbers to go in and do the searches and throw ground ladders and stretch hand lines and run pumps and throw aerial devices. If there were people in that home, that engine company shows up, there's no one to make the hydrant, so you don't have water coming into your truck. You have 1,000 gallons, and with the amount of fire they encountered, you have about 3.5 to 4 minutes of water flowing through hoses before you're all out. That being said, one person has to man the pump to make sure there's water going through it, and that only leaves 2 people. Usually, with that amount of fire, it would take 2 people to man the hose line that it would take to knock that fire down, which leaves no one on that 3-person company to go do a search of the building.
So it was these 2 people, you 2 were involved, plus 3 other firemen?
Yes.
So there was 5 people?
But we're
Yes, but the chief was in command,
Right,
and the
I know, I'm
deputy
just
chief.
saying, there was 5 people.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Because you
So
keep saying-
chief officers,
So to clarify, a fire company. So a fire company excludes the chief officers. A fire company meaning an engine, a ladder, or a big rescue truck. So a fire company should be at 4 at all times. That's what he's trying to get at, because the continuity piece, like what I said before, like I'm really not in the equation as a company. I'm not part of the
No,
company.
you're the chief, but
I'm
he
the
was in the
chief.
4th.
He was.
Right, so there's your
But he
4 right
shouldn't
there.
be, but he
Okay.
shouldn't, that's the thing, like,
Yeah.
he should not be getting dressed and going into that building. That, he should be my extra eyes and ears helping me and making sure we're situationally aware. of
He's almost like
everything.
your team lead,
But
where
again,
you're the
Yes.
company that you're trying to get other towns to
I
come in
am
and stuff like
cruising at
that.
10,000 feet, and he is more in the weeds and running the, hey, I want you to go exactly to this room and do X, Y, and Z. Exactly,
Right.
that's exactly, so it works in the team. So, for example, like most fires that we go to, even mutual aid fires, there is a minimum of 4 to 5 chiefs on scene of some type, whether it's the chief or deputies. And we all take on, when I go mutual aid, I'm almost always assigned a role. You know, and it takes a lot to adequately and safely command a fire. So so when we say that, just to clarify.
Well, that's what it means, it's comping man,
yes.
it's a picture of 3, but you two
Yes.
did too, so.
Yes, but we aren't part of the company staff, right? So it's not an attempt to try to mislead, it's an attempt to try to help you understand that a fire company needs 4 people. Now, if we had 5 engine companies in town, you could probably get away with 3 managing companies, because I'm gonna have a bunch of them coming, right, in short order. But we don't, we have 1. We have 1, that is it. It needs to have 4 people on it, is what, that's the. So, and this will justify some of the why too, all right? So now, this is our responses, all right? This is our responses for the year, and this is the last calendar year, so, or last fiscal year, or calendar year, I did do calendar year. So, the lion's share of what we do is medical, right? Anybody can see that, all right? And quite honestly, what drives our staffing is medical. I'm not really, like, we talked about the company staffing on the fire, but really at the end of the day, the number of ambulances you get out this door is what makes the difference and what you all want and need the most. And what you use the most is the medical side of it. So the EMS side of it drives everything. So our staffing is driven by EMS. My desire to want 5 is so that I can say we can put 2 ambulances on the road without having to call back personnel or overtime. I can't do that right now, but if we had 5, I could. Now, what happens is because you take care of your EMS risk or your emergency medical risk, it also helps reduce your fire risk because those same staff are cross-trained. They're both firefighters and paramedics. So you get the benefit of the both, all right? So then it helps us on the fire side, but really the driver is EMS to a tune of about 65 to 70% of what we do is EMS, because truthfully, you take these medicals, which are truly medicals, and you add in any of the tech rescue stuff we do, it usually involves transport and EMS. So you add that extra 3.1% as well, that's, all of that involves medical. And truth be told, every single fire we go to, that's what's there.
Yeah.
Medical. So medical is a part of every single thing we do. All right, this is just another breakdown of the calls. It's a pie chart. So this is the area in which we had a reduction in general services. We talked about false alarms. So false alarms are lumped into general services, and that number has gone down. And you'll see it on the trend graph I do.
Even with the migrant shelter there?
Yep.
There was a lot of false alarms there.
Wasn't as many as you think. We probably ran, specifically for the migrant shelter, we probably ran 25 or 30 calls the entire duration of the time they were there, specifically for that, because of the facility.
And they posted an ambulance there.
Yes, that was part of the negotiation with the state, like something had to give, right? So, yeah, but even with that, we did all the transports. That ambulance
Because
did
the ambulance
transport.
was only there 4 hours or something.
It was there
8 to
till,
4.
yeah, but the other plus about the shelter that kept our numbers down is that they put a full medical staff with doctors, nurses, and everything there during the day. So that helped.
Yep.
Like that helped. That kept it from becoming a burden to the community.
But they weren't just calling for other animals.
No, not at all. And a lot of times they were actually, taking care of it because there's a doctor there. They wouldn't even go to the hospital. They would get whatever they needed and take care of it right there on site.
Is medical growing in
Yes.
in your? it's-
Yes.
It's been growing, yeah.
Yep, and you'll see that on a trend.
Is there a specific reason for that? Or you don't know?
We're getting older.
Yeah. That's exactly, that's you're right. Yeah.
Aging community, and, you know, as the population goes up, you know, you get more exposure as you bring more medical professional, like the Pondville Medical Building, things like that into the community, you're gonna bump medicals up too. And that's common nationwide. It's not unique to us. Everybody's medicals are going up, everybody. And it's not that we're getting unhealthy, it's just there's a greater demand, people are living longer, and there you go, you need more medical support.
We might be unhealthier.
All right, so outside of just the emergency incidents, the way I try to capture, and some of you may have seen in the annual report, I count the work we do in permitting, the work we do in training and all those things, I call them incidents because it's a way to capture it. It makes it easy to capture some of that in our software. So in total, we did 3,289 incidents if you include the non-emergency incidents, which include when we go out and do any inspections, plan reviews. We do life safety walkthroughs of every commercial business. The shift's divided up, so we go do fire and life safety inspections and walkthroughs of every commercial business. I have to go through and do all of the liquor license places, as well as any apartment buildings, anything else. So we are in those buildings and in every site that holds or houses hazardous materials once or twice a year. So
with the code enforcement, do you have to go get a license every 3 years on their, when they renew the NFPA or whatever it is?
So for us, all of my firefighters hold a fire prevention officer credential, the basic credential they all have. Many of us have both the level 1 credential and level 2, and it is something you have to get continuing education and research for.
Like level 1 is residential, level 2 is commercial.
Yeah, it's just more involved. Like level 1 is just basic inspection.
Right.
So like what they do when they go out and do 26Fs, that kind of stuff, basic.
Sure.
Level 1, you get into some more commercial stuff and more interpretation of the code. Level 2, you're doing plan reviews, you're doing.
Sure.
I could do ticketing and stuff like, you know, I've actually unfortunately had to find some people in town for illegal burns, that kind of stuff. That comes with that, you know.
Sure, yeah.
So this is something we do and it's a big part of what we do. And then also the training. The training incidents, we kind of fluctuate. So my personnel everybody has to do 240 hours of training a year per ISO. That's what has to be done individually, each department, right? So we do that in a myriad of ways. Most of that is done on a shift basis in, on-shift training, whether it be an online class, whether they go out and move water, whether they go out and deploy lines, whether they go out and do a standpipe drill or a tanker shovel drill, all of those various types of things that we do to make ourselves better. But on top of that, we also try to provide some department level training. We just hosted with the police a active shooter hostile event training at Town Hall that went really well. It was well attended. So we also have those encompassed in those training events as well. The training actually is probably larger than this, but I don't usually count some of the stuff that they do on their own on the shifts. But if it's something they do as a group, I count it. So that means there's a lot more training going on than just that. But I only count like the actual company level drills, like when they go out and pull water, that counts, right? When they go deploy lines and do that stuff, I count that. But there's a lot of individual work that's being done by the personnel that I don't capture and put in there like that. And somebody asked, so based off of these numbers, if you encompass all responses, including non-emergency, it costs $768 per call. If you count only the emergency responses, it is $1,292 per response. Now, that is not really, that's a raw number. It's raw data, because I can tell you the fire on Main Street costs way more than $1,292, right? And the medical they ran earlier today did not cost $1,292, right? So that number actually varies from incident to incident. But, you know, to get a raw number of, hey, what does it cost if we pull that truck out the door, it's about, on that, including everything we do, it's about $800. And if it's just emergencies, it's about $1,300. Now, I like to look at that and say, you know, that's a small price to pay for a little bit of security, right? Like, I know that, you know, insurance is a bear and a burden. I know that it costs money to provide service. But I like to believe that when you break it down like that, that's a small price to pay for some security and quality of life. And I really hope and pray none of you have to use us. I know some of you already have, right? But I hope you don't. But that's a small price to pay when you think about it for the potential of having to use us and our skills.
Is that comparable with other towns?
I was gonna say, is there like a national average or
You know what,
state average?
I have never, that was one that I haven't, I have done breakdowns in previous places where it's been per capita. I would dare say that that number is gonna be larger and smaller depending on where you are, because if you go to a place that runs 20,000 calls, obviously, eventually, that number, you know, doesn't
That's what I'm
balance out,
saying,
you know.
in the towns around us. You know.
Yeah, I can look up that, but I do know this, I know all the towns around us budgets are more than ours. They cost more and to deliver a service. Rentham and Plainville don't have more people, they're about the same.
Walpole, Franklin.
Well, Walpole, Franklin, I wouldn't compare them, but if you compare, our budget is not what Rentham's and Plainville's is. It's not, it's lower. You're getting better service, truthfully, than they are for less money. I'm just being honest. Those departments are really good, no shade at them at all, but I think we're better.
How many steps do you have there?
15.
So being a chief, you're on step 15, is that?
No,
So
I'm in a
it's
separate, I'm in the steps with the rest of the town employees.
Okay.
And so is my deputy. They have a step system that was negotiated and worked on at the, not this negotiation, but the previous. But before that, they were just truthfully arbitrarily assigned an hourly rate.
So it's like a teacher, you do more training, more
Yeah.
education.
The more years you have, so we have, within the step system, there are extra increases at 5, 10, and 15 years. So at 5, 10, and 15 years, it's a larger bump. It's structured similar to the police,
Okay.
where there's extra, the bumps are bigger at those intervals.
And do you see for, like in November, if you look at your crew now, you're jumping up a lot, is some people hitting the 5 and 10 year?
As it stands right now, it's good, like the way it is and the way it's staggered out, we don't have like 5 people hitting 10 years at one time where it's gonna make the budget jump.
Right, so you can afford
Yeah.
another
Yes.
paramedic,
Yes.
you'll find it every
Yes.
year.
It's slow, it kind of staggers, and you saw in the budget kind of stays kind of,
Yeah, yeah,
you know, it's,
Yeah.
you didn't see any big spikes or big drops, it's just kind of.
okay.
All right, here's the trend, and this is what I'll show you. So prior to, or at the start of, guess what that is? That's COVID. This is COVID. COVID actually made our numbers drop because people were scared to interact with anybody, even 911. So our lowest year in the past 5 has been the heart of COVID. Because people just they didn't want to be at the hospital either. They didn't want, so, but our highest year was 2020, and the reason for that, the wedge in the general services is much bigger. So in these years following, we have reduced the number of false alarms because the radio box system has been phased out. So a radio box, there used to be basically it's like a radio signal receiver. It's a big thing that we actually had to maintain and take care of, and that we were responsible for. But we were also responsible for the components within the different occupancies and businesses. So when we lost, or when the company decided not to support the radio box system anymore, we had a choice to either go get a different one or shift people to central stations, which is like, you know, your safety security, United Alarm, you know, ADT, those type of services. So we shed that liability as a department and as a town back onto those third parties instead of us absorbing it. And that is the reason we had such a large number of calls, because we had a lot of radio box calls that were not really necessary for us to respond with an engine company or something. It was just technical stuff that we had to respond because the alarm went off.
With
It's
the
like a
third,
townie ADT
yeah,
kind of?
Yes.
yeah, with the third party holding that, do they absorb the costs on a false alarm?
No.
Okay.
No. But we still have to respond, but our false alarms are drastically reduced.
Sure, because they're probably doing their backup
Right.
calls to make sure things are
Right,
checked.
and they're calling the occupant saying, hey, do you need, and they'll say no, and then when they say they do need us, we're on the way anyway.
Sure.
So this is our trend. And as you can see, it kind of stays, we hover at about 2,000. 2,000 is kind of where we are. We're in that 2,000 range for responses a year. When I first started in 2020, we were a little busier, but the fire duty has gone down. And as our call volume is still increasing, but the number of fires is decreasing, it's medical. Medical is where it is. Medical is what drives the means of our existence and why we're here, is the medical piece.
And how much did you say if you wanted to do critical EMT, what would have been the difference? Would we make more money?
We could charge more, yes. We could charge more on responses because we would have the capability to do higher level interventions.
Because we were
or
saying we're doing more
advanced level
medical now, why
interventions.
wouldn't you do critical and use the money or find the money?
We have looked at different ways. One of the things we've done in my time here too is we've increased our EMS revenue by recouping money from Medicaid and Medicare. We are part of a CPE program, which basically Deputy Chief Kelly's in the middle of working on this huge portfolio. We go through a deep dive of every single expense, everything we do as a department, and the government reviews it and then reimburses us for what they feel like we're owed or what we didn't get from Medicare, Medicaid. So we do that every year. We have been averaging about $40,000 a year. That's $40,000 a year in revenue over the past 4 or 5 years that we otherwise weren't getting and didn't have. So that's a plus. And we've been able to do things like put a little bit more money into supporting our budget from that to offset some of our budget. So we're not completely just a drain or vacuum on you all as citizens. We actually are able to generate, I think this year we generated $750,000 in revenue with our ambulance receipts. So the more we run and the more interventions we end up doing, there's potential for more revenue to be there. Which again, it just offsets the cost of service. What it ends up doing is making your fire risk go down.
Right.
It does. We answer to medicals and we staff based on medicals, your fire risk goes down. So it's kind of a good relationship there. All right, we're coming up to the end. I know we're close, but this is a good did you know. So the Norfolk Fire Department is the first department to use a black paint scheme for a fire engine in all of the Northeast.
Yeah, my wife wants to talk to you about that. Her father was a firefighter in Boston, and all she saw growing up as a kid was a red fire engine. She comes to Norfolk and goes, what the hell is that?
Yes. So it's unique. It's something that I liked. I liked when I saw it. It's something that to dare to be different and a push towards excellence. It was kind of used as a way to separate us when it was first bought, into daring to be different, to do better, to perform better. And I love the look of it. I think our engines look pretty slick.
Stealthy.
So yeah, I love that. So I know we ended up spending a lot of time because this is pretty much the end of our slide presentation.
That's great, thank you.
No problem. So I know we went longer, and I'm glad I got to answer some of your questions. We were going to do a tour and also do a demonstration with a a medical cone with a mega code. I'm gonna let you all determine what you like. I was told that we have a hard stop at 8:30 no matter what.
We'll take water retention.
So the water retention, we are in the process of working with the contractor and the architect. For some reason, either the soil specifications are wrong, or there's something on the subsurface that is causing the water to purge. So we are actively working on that, and there probably is gonna be a test pit out there in the next couple of weeks to try to figure out if it's a water table issue, if it's a soil issue, or whatever it might be. But that is technically not working the way it was intended, but it is being addressed.
Did the town or MassDOT ever approach you guys when it came to the Park Street Bridge about reopening one lane and what would better suffice your medical emergency response? Because I'm assuming the other way probably would have been better for you guys if we went in. I should know if the MBTA even engaged you, because they haven't been engaging the town at all when it comes to that bridge.
We were engaged.
Okay.
And we talked with the then DPW Director Blair Crane when they made that decision to open it. And we are under, policy-wise, we are not using that.
Okay.
We just won't use it.
Right, because they didn't set a weight limit.
Yeah, we're
Right,
not.
they haven't done enough research. Actually, I don't think it's strong enough.
And we have Grove Street as a way to bypass. So
Sure.
that's what we've been doing.
Has it reduced your, is it reduced call time? And again, it's just for argument so we can get the thing fixed.
It definitely,
Okay, cool.
it impacts response time, but it's not astronomical though. Like it's
2-3
not like-
minutes though might, that can save someone's life.
It definitely does. And it actually matters because that road is, Grove Street's not designed for that.
You don't have line of sight, you can't get up to 60 in it because you don't have the line of sight in it.
Right, exactly.
So.
Can I ask in general, is everybody ready to go? Does it want to tour tonight?
Yeah, are we doing the tour?
Yes.
So, want to do the tour?